You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. I forgot my name. I forgot my name there, bro. What a terrible, what a terrible thing to do. That's not good at all. We're back. Bordy's back with us for a new episode. We got, quite a bit to talk about. We got a lot of current events to cover and go over for you guys. So we're gonna do that, including, kind of what we expect to happen this week, and some stuff we don't want you guys to miss out on. Again, don't forget that 5-star rating and review if you're listening to the podcast. I had a lot of Spotify users come over to the stream this week, so that was kind of cool to hear that people listen on Spotify. Obviously, Spotify a big platform now in the podcasting space, and then Apple's iTunes. It really helps us out for searchability. And then obviously, if you're on YouTube, hit the sub button, the notification bell, to get more podcast episodes like this, which we put up every Monday at this time. So, Bordy, let's just hop right. You want to say anything, Bordy, before we get in here, dude? I know you're a man.
Take it away.
You like to talk. I want to make sure you have the floor. You get upset when I don't, when I talk over you or when I don't give you time to say what you want to say. So here's the time, dude. You got anything to say?
No, man, I'm good.
All right, here we go.
The show rolling.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now stop talking because we're going into the queue. Yeah. All right. we got guys. If you haven't got your Indigo Eye drop for Twitch yesterday or yet, you got to do it now. As soon as you listen to this podcast, go over there because the last day is March 29th. The appearance item's really cool. I've been wearing it a lot of my characters. Just purple glowing eyes, kind of like I guess. It basically is essentially like Isabella, but purple instead of red. It's really cool, really cool. Make sure you guys get that. Me and Bordy will be dropped live tomorrow on the last day. I don't know what time it ends, but we'll be over there. You guys can watch us get the drop for you tomorrow if you haven't gotten it already. Here is, New World's been very active in content recently, so we're going to cover these two things real quick for you guys. If you didn't see them on Twitter, obviously I think all this to hype up the next launch, right? The next patch update, which we assume is going to happen this week, especially if they're going to call it the March patch update because we're running out of days. Tales of Aeternum, Isabella. It's a little bit of a short story kind of to hype up the final chapter of this saga in the New World lore. Isabella, there's a video up on her on Twitter. It's about a minute, not a lot of, I would say, substance. Bordy, is that the right word to use there? Not a lot of substance, but it is a cool little video. Detailing like Isabella's journey to Aeternum and what happened when she got here. So,
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I wish they would add some of this stuff in game. Some of those types of things in game would be really cool, even if it's just a cinematic like the one they posted on the YouTube video. I think those would go a long way in telling the story and getting players immersed into the game a little bit more. But all in all, it's pretty neat.
Yes. We obviously, I agree with you. Some cutscenes in game like this would be fantastic. I think that's one of the things New World kind of missed out on, is except for like the opening cutscene. There wasn't a lot of like story moments like this where there's like visual, videos. I remember back when I used to play World of Warcraft, it was awesome to see like the video cutscenes like on the raids, like that it kind of extended the story of the game, or like when you're questing and you get to see those cutscenes. I think it adds a lot to the lore and the feel of the story of the game. So maybe in the future, things like this in-game would be great. I kind of agree with you there. Another thing that's coming out this week, which again, we assume this patch is going to hit this week. It will include the Blunderbuss, which we're going to talk more about. And then the Isabella is Heart of the Tempest, right? Or Tempest Heart is what it's called, which is a new expedition, which will come with a new mutation. We get the Blunderbuss and then a ton of quality of life things which you've talked about on the podcast already. But the Blunderbuss, they tease this is the instruction manual, which is a unique thing. They haven't done this a lot on weapons that are coming out. I guess the only weapon we've gotten is the Void Gauntlet since launch, right? So they didn't do this with the Void Gauntlet, but this is a cool little walkthrough on the Blunderbuss and its abilities. We're going to go through those on the podcast because we think it'd be fun. We haven't done this yet. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool weapon. Me and you have played a lot with it on the PTR. Had a chance to work on some builds. We'll have some builds up for you guys over on New World Fans to kind of test out in the game. It should be a lot of fun. Obviously, you're going to want to have some physical aversion, some physical protection on your gear because there's going to be a ton of blunderbusses in the meta once this game comes out or once this patch comes out. Bordy. So let's hop in here and talk about the abilities of the blunderbuss. So there are two different trees: the chaos tree and the containment tree. The containment tree is your like CC tree, if you will, kind of similar to the way that the Warhammer is divided up. So the first one's net shot. Fire a large net on the blunderbuss that deals 40% weapon damage and slows targets it hits for 40%. If standing still or moving backwards, the recoil of this attack will knock you further backwards. If moving sideways or forwards, it will continue to move. You will continue to move in that direction unhindered. So this is a pretty, the blunderbuss design has me excited because there's so much utility, so much thought put out into each one of these abilities that the build diversity of the blunderbuss is going to be pretty crazy. What do you think of net shot, dude, and all of the utility that comes with it?
Yeah, I think it's good, man. I think the utility is fine. It's got a lot of CC on there, and then it has the bleed at the end whenever you upgrade it fully. And I think it's a pretty neat ability. I think it might be outshined by some of the other abilities from the blunderbuss. I'm not sure how much a net shot will be used, just because the one shot potential of this weapon is so high. So I don't know, man. I do like the ability. I like how it works. Like this big AOE CC. The net shooting out of the blunderbuss looks pretty cool. Overall, a pretty neat ability.
Yeah. It's I've seen this included in that combo, but it is pretty. The weapon itself has a lot of strong abilities, so it'll be pretty hard to figure out what exactly abilities you're going to use for your builds. Here's the upgrades for that: fast hands. If net shot hits a target, reduce cooldown by 20%. Apparatus, the net now inflicts a 50% slow that degrades to normal movement speed over 5 seconds, and then barb net shot initial hit is reduced to 5% weapon damage. However, it deals 35% additional weapon damage as bleeding. None of those are very significant. Obviously, the utility of the weapon of itself is like a slow, right? A range slow, which I guess the best way to kind of compare it to, or the best ability to compare it to, are abilities like Gravwell, which obviously this falls way short of the strength of Gravwell. But this just does give you a little bit of slowness to obviously catch up to your target if you're trying to, get into blunderbuss range or even melee range. So let's move on to the next ability. Claw Shot. Shoot forward a 4-prong claw attached to a chain from the muzzle. This projectile will go up to 14 meters and cannot pull you upwards more than 3 meters. If it is, which is interesting, if it connects with an enemy, it will deal 40% weapon damage, inflict a 1-second root, pulling you forward to them. The pull can be canceled at any time by using a primary fire. The root ends early if the target is hit 4 times. This is compatible with a taunt gem, which is pretty cool, dude. So now, I don't know, a lot of tanks in video games have that pull mechanic. But, dude, I don't know if I've ever seen a pull mechanic that actually pulls the tank to the target. I don't know how great that is when you're trying to pull individual mobs. But here we are, dude. Claw Shot, like a grappling hook, basically. What is your take on this ability?
Definitely an interesting ability for sure.
Yeah.
On the PTR, it's a little bit clunky. I think there's a delay whenever you shoot and it pulls you in. It feels like it needs a little bit of work maybe, but I think overall the ability is very interesting. And this is part of the combo of that one shot combo. You can do some really crazy things with this claw shot. Gravwell and then claw shot into the Gravwell, or ice shower and then claw shot into the enemy that's sitting in the ice shower. It's gonna shake some things up for sure. It is kind of hard to hit the claw in PvP specifically, but it's fun. and it is definitely going to shake up the meta. The thing that I kind of wish you could do, it can only pull you upwards more. It can't pull you upwards more than 3 meters. It would be nice if that wasn't there. That way you could shoot somebody like one of those pesky musket users that just are like sitting up there on the rock. You could shoot them and then launch up there to them and then blast them in the face with the blunderbuss. That'd be pretty satisfying, I think. But I do understand why they added that in. It's like, if you had the blunderbuss with that type of mobility, everyone would have the blunderbuss, right? Like if you could claw shot into an enemy that's like up on a mountain or up on the mountainside, everybody would use it. They would just be flying around the map, right? It would give you a pretty unfair advantage in PvP. So I understand why they added that in there like that. But it is an interesting ability, man. It is an interesting ability. And then the upgrades are pretty good on this thing too, I think.
Yeah, you get a ton of different utility even in the upgrades. So in and out upon usage, restore 8 stamina every second for 10 seconds. That's insane for mobility. Combat readiness, landing a pellet, even if blocked, lowers the cooldown of this ability. And then mobile overload. Successful pulls, which means pulling you to the target, will automatically grant 1 loaded ammunition. If you currently have 2 loaded ammunition, this will exceed the cap. This is obviously, when I built out my blunderbuss shots or builds, Bordy, I didn't take this, that last upgrade, because it's contradictive to another thing we're going to talk about later. One of the passives that's very strong in this weapon.
Yeah, but you can forego that passive and take this one strictly for the lands and the one-shot combo. And I think this, if you're going for the one-shot combo, this is kind of better because the other one takes a little bit longer to load that shot into the blunderbuss. But overall, it's a pretty crazy ability, man. It's going to be really fun to see how people put this together with their builds. I think whenever this blunderbuss releases an OPR and just everywhere, you're just going to be seeing claw shots just fired out from every direction.
Well, we can hope. We only hope it's close shots, because we're going to talk about another ability later that we might see spammed a lot as well. But yeah, so here's the last ability in the containment tree is Azoth Shrapnel Blast. Fire 5 shots in a horizontal fan in front of you that will push you backwards. Each shot will deal 58% weapon damage. Every consecutive hit on that same target will deal 15% less damage than the previous hit. So that's a little bit significant, but as we read into the passives here, which we'll cover real quick, you'll see why it's not. Reach. Increase the range of this attack from 12 meters to 16. Discord. Fire 5 additional pellets each time you use this ability. Refresh. Each individual hit from this ability or from the blunderbuss primary fire will lower the cooldown of this ability. And then Azoth Bomb. Fire a singular bomb down the center of the fan. This bomb will implant itself in the world and explode 100% damage in 3-meter area with a 5-second delay. So as you see that,
0.5 second delay.
0.5, my bad.
A second,
Yeah. Half a second delay. Yeah, this is the ability that you use for the one-shot combo. We'll talk a little bit more about the key passive, but yeah, right now, Shrapnel Shot is the ability that kind of makes this one-shot combo work at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. The damage that you can pump out with this ability in particular is wild, man. I'm putting together a video now about how to level this thing really quickly, and this is one of the key abilities you're going to want to use whenever you're doing that as well. So you just spec into this, you go all the way down to Azoth Bomb, and you can clear out groups of mobs very quickly. Although there's like other abilities we're going to get into here in a second that are very good, like AoE damaging abilities. This one in particular is just it's very strong. It is very strong. It hits pretty hard. It's got a lot of utility, a lot of different uses. It's very good, I think. I think it's good in like even in dueling situations and in like group play. It's a good ability. Yeah,
I mean it's interesting because it's paired with a shot that really, the weapon doesn't have a lot of range, right? You can't pepper shot people from a long ways away. You really have to be up close and personal, which is why, like, I think a lot of the interesting builds with the blunderbuss are like sword and shield and stuff that allow you to get up in the thick of things and then pop out the blunderbuss, pop your shot, and then put your shield back over. That's very interesting, like tank builds or maybe even in war, some point builds with the blunderbuss get pretty interesting. But yeah, this ability in itself is extremely powerful. I think this is one of the abilities that got a little bit of attention in patch notes, and it's still extremely strong. So here's one of the things. This is the key passive in this tree, Bordy. It is unload. The next shot fired within 6 seconds after triggering an ability will have 9 pellets instead of 6. This effect can stack up to 2.0 times. So this is where that combo gets crazy, Bordy. You claw shot into someone, you Azoth shrapnel blast, and then you immediately light attack, which basically it buffs your light attack by 9 pellets. Or 3 more pellets than it originally has. So as you can tell, the damage numbers, especially if you start going into strength and intellect together, you see these numbers, they get pretty crazy. I the first day, Bordy, that I was on the PTR, I was running all strength and int, 0 con with rapier, and I was just popping in and blowing people away. It was a ton of fun. But yeah, unload is the key passive here, which you can see the synergy with the other abilities in the tree as well.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, man. The damage potential and the damage output of this thing gets pretty nutty for sure.
So there's another interesting thing that really synergizes well with this. I'm trying to find it real quick, sift through here. It's basically that you if you have one, like the last bullet in your chamber does more damage.
It's called deep load.
Here we go. Yeah. So deep load. The last shot loaded into the blunderbuss will do % increased damage, which I believe is end up fleshed out to a 15% increased damage. So what I was doing, and this is, I guess, a little bit on the same vein, I would shoot a shot before I went in with my hook to make sure I only had one in the bullet. I did not take the passive, the mobile overload. That way I didn't get the extra bullet in there. And so I'd claw shot in and Azoth shrapnel, and then with the last bullet in the chamber, do the unload thing. And it's just a ton of damage, Bordy. And you can tell even in the containment tree alone, it kind of reminds me of the rapier a little bit, because the rapier, like on paper, it looks like, well, I definitely, if I want to do DPS, I need to stay away from the grace tree and go into the, you know what I mean? I need to go into the bleed tree. And this is like the same way. This CC tree is where the damage is, which is kind of, I don't know, very strange. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the chaos tree later, and there's some damage to be had over there as well.
There is, but it's a different type of damage, right? Like it's not the up in your face, just one shot type of damage.
A rogue.
It's the other tree, the chaos tree, is more like just sustained, like sitting back shooting people type of tree. But the one shot combo is very interesting, man. There's also a passive called ramp. So reloads give you a damage boost of 4% for 6 seconds, and that stacks up to 4 times, which is absolutely insane. So I was taking that along with deep load and then unload, and man, it's bonkers. Like, it really is. It's crazy. I would imagine whenever this hits PTR, these combos are going to get a lot. Whenever it comes off of PTR and it's live, my bad. Yeah. These combos are going to get a lot of attention, and I think there's going to be a lot of interesting Reddit and forum posts about the blunderbuss. It's going to be a fun week of seeing this patch go live, I think.
Well, and you remember back to like the Void Gauntlet, how strong it was. I mean, you just basically two swipe people and they're dead in PvP. So we're about to relive that in a different form or fashion. This ability actually takes a little bit more skill, I think, to pull off. You really have to go in with intention to one shot that, right? So here's the chaos tree. Here's the splitting grenade. This is the first ability in the chaos tree. Shoot a grenade out of the blunderbuss that will bounce up to 4 times and will detonate after 1.5 seconds. The splitting grenade can also be manually detonated by reactivating the ability. So you can actually double tap the ability to explode. Like, it's basically, I would say it behaves in the same manner as diminishing, or the orb on the Void Gauntlet. You can detonate it. Or Ice Spike, I guess, is another great example for that. So we'll create, once you do that, upon detonation, we'll create 3 mini grenades that will disperse and explode 1 second after landing, dealing 85% weapon damage in 3 meter area. Each successful grenade hit at the same target does 40% less base damage. So they built in some ability, or like some, I guess, like cliff notes into these abilities that make sure these don't scale like extremely high. But I mean, dude, this is a ton of damage on the splitting grenade,
Bro.
especially if you can time the explosion.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, especially in PvP, is timing the explosion, even in PvE sometimes. But I did use this ability as well in PvP, and then whenever you land it, it's crazy, man. It just enhances you, like nobody lives. No one lives whenever you use. If you land this plus the other abilities we were talking about earlier, no one lives. It's pretty insane, man. It's crazy. Then in PvE, I also use this ability to. This is one of the abilities I'm going to use to level up the weapon. Is going to be obviously Azos Shrapnel Blast, this one, and then Mortar Charge, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But between those three, you can just mow down groups of mobs. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. So here's the upgrades here. Soften, deal 25% increased damage to targets greater than 50% health. Delay escape. Any grenade hit grants haste. Increased movement speed by 20%. It obviously is a great kiting or built-in kiting ability there. And incinerary blast. Splitting grenade explosions inflicts burns on hit, dealing 10% weapon damage per second for 10 seconds. So there's a lot of, a little bit of love in the dot section, but that, 10% weapon damage, not a lot usually there. But overall, dude, just a great, again, you'll notice this in the chaos tree. This is built for AoE damage for the most part.
Yeah.
Point damage or whatever you want to call it, but it's extremely powerful, especially our next offender. Is mortar shot. Mortar shot. Load the blunderbuss with a heavy canister for the next 15 seconds or 3 shots. You will no longer fire multiple pellets, but instead will fire a heavy, fast diving mortar style canister that causes a tall explosion upon impact, dealing 100% weapon damage in 3-meter area. If the target is 10 meters away or further, they will take 35% increased damage from the mortar shot. Ability upgrades are steady. Each hit grants 7 stamina. Freedom. With each shot fired, gain a burst of 50% move speed, which decays in power over time. And then here's streak. Gain an extra canister. You can now hit up to 4. You can fire up to 4 shots. Bordy, Mortar, the day that Blunderbuss launched on PTR, there was no ability that I was more afraid of hitting live than Mortar Shot. Mortar Shot was insane. The freaking outpost rushes were like 20 mortar shots going off at once. It was like a war zone. I mean, it's just constant parades of explosions and
then the sound. All you heard
sound
was boom, boom. It's basically like a noob tube from Call of Duty. You remember that thing?
Well, yeah. Or I mean, honestly, yeah.
It's crazy.
Basically, Destiny has their own version of that too. It's like like this one-off. Yeah, it's just crazy, bro.
The thing that saves this ability from being absolutely insane, though, is that if you do get within melee damage of someone and they dodge or jump or do any kind of weird animation, it goes on cooldown. So, the ability goes on cooldown, so you can't use it anymore. So either you sit there and you eat the melee shots to the face, or you dodge away or try to get away somehow. Whenever you do that, this ability goes on cooldown, and so then you're just kind of, you have to switch off. And it has a pretty long cooldown too of 18 seconds. So you can't use it again. But it's if you're able to get yourself positioned where you can just fire these shots down into a group of people, you're about to do some damage, man.
Yeah, and you talk about more of these, and then on the point, this will be a great thing to if you're on. Not that defense needs any help in wars, but if you're on defense in wars, man, and have a couple of these mortar shot people up on the fort wall, just raining havoc onto the opposing team, it gets pretty crazy with this ability. And the last one here is blast shot. Blast immense wind out of your blunderbuss, knocking down any target immediately in front of you. Blast shot deals 70% weapon damage. Apply, and then here are the ability upgrades. Preparation. Blast shot applies a rend, increasing damage applied to all targets affected by this ability for 10 seconds. And lingering flow. The area 10 meters in front of you remains influenced by wind for the next 8 seconds, allowing your allies to move 25% increased speed while in the area. This is I think this goes, again, pretty well with like point control here. And there's like the sword and shield type of build, because this is a big, pretty decent sized AoE knockdown that you can use here with blast shot.
Yeah, it's definitely a situational type of thing to use. It does apply rend as well. It's 10%. I think this is a pretty good ability for PvE, for sure. In PvP, I think it's going to be very situational as to when you're going to use it. On paper, it sounds excellent, but in practice, I think other abilities are superior in PvP. But I think there are situations where you'd want to use it, depending on your build comp, etc. It's an interesting ability for sure. And the lingering flow thing is a nice added touch, I think, for the haste, for the move speed you get through there. It's pretty neat. I thought it was pretty unique. A pretty unique thing to have in the game, and I like the ability. It's pretty cool. It's just going to be a situational type of thing you're going to use. If you're running dungeons and you're DPSing with a blunderbuss, or even playing a tank or something, you're probably going to take blast shot for the additional rend, I guess, depending on your group comp. But yeah, it's nice to have a rend on there too.
Yeah, it does help out, and especially if the AOE rend is pretty good, because right now you have the ones that stand out the most are your rapier rend. Which you have to land the 3 perforating shots on there, and then you have the hammer, which is.
You mean your spear end?
What did I say?
Rapier.
Yeah. Sorry, spear rend, and then your hammer. Of course,
you have to have Sundering Shockwave on this, not built in, so you have to have.
You also get Armor Breaker.
Oh well, Armor Breaker, yeah,
but you don't use that in PvP.
Exactly,
right, exactly. So yeah. This is a great, you either have to have a weapon perk on your ability, but this is kind of a built-in AoE rend, which is pretty good to have in a group. It's, like you said, especially in PvE, but also in PvP when you're talking about point control and stuff. So overall, this ability, this weapon has so much utility. It's going to fit on the back bar of a lot of builds, I think. The blunderbuss is, and I think what's unique to it too is it's going to be a primary weapon in a lot of builds also. So this it does give those Void Gauntlet vibes, Bordy, where this could like overrun the meta pretty quickly, because when Void Gauntlet came out, it was the king of melee, and it also had like utility on the back bar of a lot of weapons because of Oblivion and Scream. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this lands, but obviously for a while it's going to be a lot of muskets, a lot of blunderbusses in OPR and other activities like that.
Yeah, are you going to use it?
Absolutely. Dude, I'm going to level this bad boy up, and then I'll probably do the rogue build that I was doing on the PTR for a while, just for memes. It's just a ton of fun, man. It's a high mobility weapon that has a ton of damage output. I think it's fun to play. It's obviously, there's some skill involved. That's where this separates to me from the Void Gauntlet, is the blunderbuss does require a decent amount of skill to make sure that you're landing these combos. Because if you get in there and you're running the all strength intellect build and you don't land your shots, you're in trouble. Yeah, you're in trouble. Whereas the musket, that's where the musket, like, you can run the dex build, but you're so far away from everybody and you have the rapier on your back bar, it's hard to punish that. You know what I mean? It's very hard, but the blunderbuss definitely requires a little bit more skill than that. Same with
it does for sure.
The Void Gauntlet. It was basically like Scream and then swipe 2 times to your blade and then you win. This isn't quite like that. So.
Yeah, it is much more of a skill-based weapon for sure, but I think there's going to be some nutty combos come out, and I think it'll probably fall off a little bit over time because people are going to realize how skill-based it actually is. But I think this is one of those like really fun, maybe easy to use but hard to master type of weapons,
Yeah, and you know what's not hard is firing mortar shots from the mountain.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
we might see a lot of that.
Yeah. There's nothing that's going to be more tilting than having people in OPR standing on top of that freaking mountain firing. Yeah. I don't think the mortar shot goes that far though.
Not that far, but if you're, right now in OPR, there's. A musket line setting up on those mountains waiting for you to rotate the Baron, and you just get wrecked by muskets. Yeah. So I'm sure this will be similar to that as well. The final key passive, these are the ones I like to kind of single out anyways, is Double Down. Once every 30 seconds, your next ability used will have its cooldown reduced. And the amount of that is 50%. So then you start to, this is the mortar shot, I think it's really crazy, is you get to reducing that cooldown too much and you have mortar shot up all the time, right? That's where that passive ability kind of plays into the chaos tree, I think.
Yeah, I think it's good though, but there is a lot of like baked in cooldown reduction into this entire kit.
Yeah.
But I think it's good because the mortar charge has a pretty long cooldown. It's the shortest of the chaos tree. It has 18 seconds. But blast shot is 30 seconds. Splitting grenade is 30 seconds. I mean, man, those are some pretty long cooldowns. You know, a 30-second cooldown is a long time, especially in PvP. So it's kind of good. There is a lot of like baked in cooldown reduction that helps mitigate some of those cooldowns, which is nice. And I think this is just kind of doubling down on that, giving you an option. So like once every 30 seconds, your next ability used will have its cooldown reduced by 50%. So it really cuts down on the time that those abilities can be used, which I think is nice. I think it synergizes well with this side of the tree. I think it can be pretty strong if you time your stuff right.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, just I'm excited to have another weapon in the game. Have the meta shifted, because obviously for a while it'll be primarily blunderbuss, but then we'll see how the meta shakes up. Right now I think the big things in the meta probably aren't going to change, which is the rapier being just the king of the back bar with mobility, and then pesky musket players who just constantly shoot you in the face, no matter what. So we'll see if the blunderbuss changes any of that. But I can't imagine the blunderbuss has some mobility, but it just can't probably still keep up with the rapier at this point. So. All right, dude. Well, the final thing we have to talk about, I thought this would be a little bit of a fun thing to kind of close the show on, dude. And that is the patch is coming. We think it's going to be here tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. I'm going to pin you down right now. The number one thing you're most excited about seeing in the patch.
Oh man, that is tough. I think maybe. Man, that's tough. There's a lot of things I'm actually excited about for this March patch, to be honest. There's a lot of things.
I have mine if you want me to give you time, dude. I'll give you a little bit of time to stall.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right, inventory management. I'm so happy that
maybe gonna be mine. Yeah.
The inventories are linked finally.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
I spend more time running my mats around the map than I do playing the game at this point, I think. Because every time I get done with a luck run, I go to each individual storage and put away everything I got that time. And it's just like, it'll be so good to be able to do that from one location, dude. I think that's the highest quality of life thing that's happening in the game. You can couple that with, I think when I say inventory management, also the storage increase on the chest and everything like that. I think it all goes really well together to lessen the load on players. So that's mine, inventory management.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many good things. You have ammo is going to be infinite. The stacks of ammo is going to be weightless. I mean, there's so many like great quality of life adjustments coming into the game. I think overall, probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most is just the blunderbuss, just because it's going to add new play style and bring a little bit of new life to the game. And it'll just be something fun to play with, right? Like I've got every weapon maxed in the game right now. I've used them all, and I've landed on spear hatchet is what I use. That's my main. But I kind of have toyed around with builds for just about everything, and it'll just be fun to have something else in the game to play around with, Yeah. So I think that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most, but the other stuff comes in a very, very close second. I am super excited about all the quality of life stuff because I think it's so good. That stuff is going to make the game infinitely more enjoyable.
Yes, agreed, 100%. Queuing from, like you said, queuing from OPR is another.
Oh man, yeah,
really,
it's a huge one for me.
Because it's like I have to literally beg people.
Finally fish, man. I'll go fish and queue for OPR, dude.
Yeah, same.
I have fishing and furnishing left to max out, and I've been waiting for OPR queues like this so I could go fish and queue, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm gonna continue to try to get rich on lock runs and the queue. But the thing, it's interesting, dude, because I think as we move in to keep getting these good quality of life updates, we're moving into April, which will be another like highly focused patch on fixing problems with the game. Hopefully even maybe some things we're not thinking of, some quality of life things. I like wars, I think need a lot of attention. Wars and invasions. Yeah. If they can just figure those things out and then put down a thick old expansion, dude, I think, I just continue to get excited about this game in the future that it has, because they make so many good changes each patch. They're kind of sometimes overshadowed with the bugs that are initially in the patch. But overall, I think they're building a very firm foundation to have a bright future. So
Agreed.
These things are definitely exciting. All right, Bordy, let's hop over to the company of the week, which is I'm stalling because I
the Patrons of War. I got you, dude. Don't worry.
Right,
See, I was waiting for you to cue me in, and then you did.
Well, you never do. You never help me out.
I wait every time. Last episode, you literally called me out for it.
So that's not true.
I was with Lamoni. It was the episode before that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, see, you didn't remember your name, and now you don't remember what episodes.
I need to go to the doctor. Okay. Anyways, Bordy, take it away.
The Patrons of War. They are an NA East company. Their faction is Covenant, and they are currently recruiting. So it says they are a guild centered around creating exciting events and goals for their community. If you're looking for a guild that is wanting to do all the content within New World, this is the place. We strive to make every member heard and appreciated. So they strive to keep the following criteria in play at all times for the community. So they have they're very community focused. They're focused on growing a healthy gaming experience, PvP, gathering, crafting, guild events is a big deal for them, providing help and sharing knowledge with new members, and then they would just want to have an overall good social atmosphere. So if you're interested in checking them out, make sure you go over there and follow along with them. We'll make a post to their link everywhere this podcast can be found. It does say that you have to have a mature attitude. Your participation and community guild events is required. You must be active. Discord is required while you're in game. Then having a highly adaptable and willing to help out the community attitude. So again, we'll make sure we link this in everywhere. We'll link this posting. Geez, I'm like, I can't talk today. We'll link this posting everywhere this podcast can be found. And we thank you, Patrons of War, for your posting on New World Fans.
Yes, and thank you to all our Patreons and all the people that use the New World Fans to promote your companies. Just make sure, guys.
You can't talk either, can you? You're struggling too.
Listen, man, I'm not struggling at all. This is the way I talk all the time. So, listen. Thank you guys for using that to promote your companies. Just remember, guys, update your company things. If you're listening to the podcast and you have your
update your company things.
Yeah, because if you're listening to the podcast and you want people to join your company, it needs the right server on there, because a lot of people, those servers don't even exist anymore. A lot of people have those servers up there. So make sure you're updating that, because we want to help you find people for your company. But it's hard to when your company doesn't exist, or if your company is on a server that doesn't exist. So make sure you're doing that. Or if it's on the wrong server. Some of them are just on the wrong server in general. So, all right, guys. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Episode 112, dude. I mean, we're cooking.
Pretty crazy.
We're cooking through the 100s, dude. Before you know it, dude, we'll be at number 200, and we'll have Scott Lane on. Scott, just get ready, dude. It's about a year. It's about a year and something, dude. And I want your hair. Don't cut. No haircut until episode 200. Well, we're gonna start a hashtag, dude. Scott Lane cannot cut his hair until episode 200, and then dude, it's gonna be an epic episode for sure.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. Next time we see you, we'll all have blunderbusses in our hands. So that's going to be exciting to talk about. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.